What is good, y'all? Welcome back to the Workshop channel. Before we get started in our video, make sure that you like, subscribe, and turn those notifications on if you can help us out with that, man. So, a wild week in sports. Everything is going on. NBA playoffs, draft lottery, a little bit of NFL news, but we coming off a week where now we have one decided playoff series. We have um, the Pacers moving on to the next round. We have a couple other series finishing up. OKC just won last night, going up 3-2. Timberwolves play tonight versus the Warriors. They can get a chance to send them home. And then we have Boston in New York to finish it up. And we'll see what that ends up. We have the opportunity to send the team home as well. But to get started, we're going to start off with the draft lottery. Is the NBA rigged? Is the NBA draft lottery rigged? After the results of the draft lottery, that's the big question is being asked. If you don't know, the Dallas Mavericks won the draft lottery with a 1% chance, 1.8% chance to win the lottery. All right. So how the draft lottery works, the worst teams get the best percentages. They all get 14%, and then it trickles down from there. Okay. So the Dallas Mavericks traded the greatest star in their franchise, probably, right? Luka Doncic during the season. They come to the draft lottery with a 1.8% chance to win. And they win the lottery to win the sweepstakes against Cooper Flag. Right. So this begs the question of, is this rigged? What this has happened before? Is the NBA rigged? Is the draft lottery rigged? Because this isn't the only time something crazy like this has happened. You have the year of 2019 when Zion Williamson got picked number one to the New Orleans Pelicans. The New Orleans Pelicans traded Anthony Davis earlier on that year to the Lakers. They happened to get the number one overall pick. Derrick Rose is coming out of Memphis. Chicago raised kid, born and raised. The Chicago Bulls end up getting the number one overall pick. 2013, LeBron James, Akron, Ohio, born and raised, number one player coming out of draft. Cleveland Cavaliers get the number one overall pick. Now, granted, they were the worst team in the NBA that year, but is it just a coincidence that LeBron is coming out the year where Cleveland is the worst? He's from Ohio. He's about to be the greatest player, one of the greatest players we've ever seen. They end up having to go to Cleveland. You write the perfect story. Same thing for Derrick Rose. Just so happened that the Chicago Bulls went the number one overall pick. Then we have another year. Cavaliers win the draft lottery again. LeBron James goes back to the Cavs. They win the draft lottery. They get Andrew Wiggins, and they can parlay that into getting Kevin Love to go back to go to Cavaliers so they can go win some championships. I think that it's a necessary question. They want us, all these things, coincidence has happened. But they don't want us to believe that this shit is kind of rigged. You mean to tell me that Luka Doncic, the top 5 player in the NBA, gets traded to Los Angeles Lakers in a trade that nobody ever thought made sense? Nobody made sense of this trade when it happened. Everyone's like, what? How? Why? With the draft compensation, they didn't really get much. They got Anthony Davis in return to Max Christie. Not too much, really, if you're looking at Luka Doncic. Like, we're looking at Luka Doncic. He didn't send home many players in the playoffs. Right? He didn't take away many times in the playoffs. So, my thing is, then you get Cooper Flag. This is probably the highly talented American white player that has come into the NBA in a long time. He highly talented, number one overall pick. 6'9", can do everything. And he just happens, this is going to the state of Texas. He just happens to be going to the state of Texas, Dallas, Texas. They didn't want him in Utah. They didn't want him in Charlotte. They didn't want him in Washington. He ends up on the Dallas Mavericks. in Texas. The next great white hope, some may say. He may end up being a great player. But is it a little rigged? Do you think it's a little rigged? There's been many of times. Like I went through a timeline of things that have happened that it's like, damn, is this rigged? And Nico Harrison, after this trade, he didn't got a second chance at life. He didn't got a second chance at his job. Honestly, you want to see nothing's better than a dude that gets a second chance. See, when they got done cheating, they done did wrong, they job about fire them, and they get a second chance and they need to do right. This is their last opportunity. There's nobody better for the job at that time. Back against the wall, you get a second chance. I'm gonna show y'all what a second chance looks like. Look at that. Look how wait. That's what a second chance looks like. Look at them jumping up and down, hugging each other. He had a 1.8% chance. And now the question is, do the Mavericks fans not need to boo Nico anymore? Nico ain't did a goddamn thing. He didn't win draft nobody yet. He did nothing. He just randomly got placed in his lap a number one overall pick. And from sources came through today, they plan on keeping the pick, which I think is a good idea. They should keep the pick because you add Cooper Flag with AD, Klay Thompson, PJ Washington. They don't have to take anything away. They're adding this piece. You give Cooper Flag gives you a new lead horse to take this franchise off into the sunset. Everybody was mad about Luka. Now you got Cooper Flag. Everybody's like, okay, I see the vision now. Even though this wasn't the vision, they didn't know what was going to happen. Kyrie Irving tore his Achilles at the end of the season, right before the playoffs, so he's going to be out for 9 months. But this gives you a buffer in between that time. Let's say next year is next year. They're missing Kyrie Irving for most of the year, if not all the year. So this gives you a buffer to be like, okay, we got Cooper Flag. We're just working on it, trying to get better. See how you play with AD. Him, AD in lineup. When Kyrie come back, it might get shaky in the West. If Cooper Flag is, I mean, you just really upgraded PJ Washington. That's all you really did. You got AD, Daniel Gafford, Cooper Flag, Klay Thompson, and Kyrie, the starting five. You just take PJ Washington out and you put Cooper Flag in. If Cooper Flag is a even 15, 16 point a game, 17 point a game scorer by his second year when Kyrie comes back healthy, they could go far. They could go far. He defends. He does everything you need to do on the court. Now I'm saying he's going to be a great player, but he's going to fit good. Oh, also with the draft lottery, the Spurs just magically get the first overall pick. I mean, they were the worst team, but they just so happen to get Victor Wembanyama. They just so happen to get Victor Wembanyama when they already had great bigs, foreign players, the perfect spot for him. And he just happens to fall to the Spurs, huh? Yeah, I gotta watch this shit. And you know who really ruined the draft lottery? The 76ers. Trusting the process ruined the draft lottery. Because it used to be 25% came to the top and then it trickled down from there. Now all the top 3 worst teams get 14. Because Philly wanted to trust the process. And that's why you don't play with the sports gods. That's why you don't try to ruin the system, because they haven't done anything since. They drafted Fultz. They got Jahlil Okafor during that time. They got Joel Embiid. They got Nolan Noel during that time. They got Ben Simmons during that time. And while they were tanking, literally tanking, it wasn't like they were just losing and being asked. They were doing it intentionally. This is what they wanted to do. It's to build their team. And they have nothing to show for it. Not even the Eastern Conference Finals appearance. So that's when they implemented, okay, y'all want to tank? Y'all want to try to play a system? We got something for y'all ass. So now they switched it up. And I think it's interesting. People saying like the NBA should, I mean the NFL should adopt a lottery system for their teams for the last picks because teams start to tank at the end. But I don't think you can do it in the NBA because one player doesn't shift the franchise as much as it does in basketball. You still need 50 starters. You need 22 other players to make the team good, right? You might get the best quarterback in the market, but I mean, Caleb Williams, he ain't hoops yet. He was the most touted quarterback recently, and he ain't went crazy yet. He ain't brought the Bears out of irrelevancy yet. You know, all you need is one player in basketball to change a whole city and franchise around. There's 5 people on the court. If you get the best player every year, if you tank it purposely to get the best player, y'all gonna have the best team. In the NFL, you just need a little bit more work, I feel like. And it's a lot less games. Players need to play for their next contracts. Coaches are coaching for their next contracts. Like, they can't tank. I mean, they can, but it's not as big as a problem in the NFL than it is in the NBA. In the NBA, you see, like I said, the Sixers tank year on year to get that pick, and it didn't work out. But you know, people are mailing it in early. And RIP to the Utah Jazz and the Washington Wizards, failing to get the #1 overall pick twice. Jazz was the worst team in the NBA. Wizards, worst teams in the NBA. Nets, one of the worst teams in the NBA. But teams that are inspiring to win. If we go back to the, let's go back to the draft lottery, the order, right? You got Mavericks, playoff team, title hopeful team, #1 overall pick. Spurs, #2, playoff hopeful team, have one of the best players, young players in the NBA, have De'Aaron Fox, have the good young nucleus, picking #2. Good teams. I mean, solid teams. They're not like they weren't in the playoffs, but solid team. 76ers, the #3 pick. They got Paul George, Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, right? And they picking #3. Going to be a good team next year. A lot of injuries happened this year. Of course, they played trash. Paul George had more podcasts and he had points, but at the end of the day, they have a whip. Now you have the Charlotte Hornets that need that pick, the Utah Jazz that need that pick, the Wizards that need that pick, picking 4, 5, and 6. That's just why the NBA is where it is now, because the good teams, the good markets keep getting better. The ass teams stay ass. The Hornets been ass for most of my whole life. Utah Jazz had a couple years with Donovan Mitchell when they was straight. The Wizards, they ain't been shit since Gilbert Wheaton, well, since John Wall left. So, like, it's no, because players aren't going to these teams. In the NFL, you could get a player to go here, a player to go there. You can draft the #1 quarterback and be good. Like, the Chiefs were ass my whole life. I'm from Kansas. The Chiefs were ass my whole life. But they got Patrick Mahomes. Everything kind of turned around. So I don't know, man. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think the NBA is rigged? The draft lottery is rigged? Do you feel like it's fair? Who do you have going on in the next series? We have Boston brings it back to a game 6 at least, back to Madison Square Garden. They go back to Madison. I think Jaylen Brown has the big game. What else? Shout out to Tyrese Halliburton. What the Halliburton put it on the show. OKC pulling out a big win last night versus the Nuggets, and we'll see if Ant-Man can take who they play. The Warriors without Steph. It's without Steph, so they really don't. It is what it is, man. See if they can take them out, man. Make again, like, share, subscribe, man. My nose stuffy as hell. It's allergy season, so if I don't kind of sound like a little, uneasy, it's because of that, man. But make sure you like, share, subscribe, follow us on the gram, and stay tapped in, man. It's always work to be done.